All right.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited to have you all here with me and the wonderful Beth that I had the privilege and honor of meeting at the World Obesity Conference. And I'm pretty sure we could have talked the entire conference just to each other instead of listening. I mean, I loved the information we learned, but it was so organic. And I loved hearing your inputs about what you had to say with food.
Should
And
I tell him why I sat next to you though?
yes, you should definitely tell them why you sat next to me.
She had on this fabulous sparkly outfit. And I was like, oh, there's a kindred spirit right there. Cause
Uh-huh.
I'm still a 6-year-old in regards to sparkles.
And I'm very much in the
What?
same. We connected over sparkles, so our inner children guided us to each other.
That's right. Anyway,
Uh,
please continue.
but like my mom's always told me I'm a sparkly tomboy, and I'm okay with that. I kind of like
Yep.
that. But it was very fun for me to hear your opinion about certain food things because I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm, a nutrition specialist and a health coach, but I like to give my audience the opportunity to learn from other amazing sparkly professionals such as yourself. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So, so yes, technically I'm bestowed with the credentials registered dietitian nutritionist.
Goes back and
We
forth.
a lot of little letters behind our names, but the way I tend to describe our profession to people that I'm counseling is, well, most of us tend to be foodies. I mean, we like all kinds of foods, and not just the green ones, right? But we just tend to be these a bit of a there's a little biochemistry geek in all of us because we loved to study and understand when we eat and drink food, what effects does it have in our bodies and how can it promote health
Mhm.
or how can it take away from health. So I think there are numerous dietitians that pretty much have t-shirts printed up that says I'm a registered dietitian, not the food police, because we are not here to just kind of give lists of there's the do's, these are the don'ts,
Right.
but literally to just kind of share our knowledge so people can make informed decisions.
Mm, I love that.
So the straight talkers on, all right, if you choose this, consider this in your body
Mhm.
thing.
Well,
So
what I like, and I think this is one of the other reasons besides our sparkly nature that we connected is I've done a bunch of diets myself when I struggle with weight, and the eat this, don't eat this list just creates like a power dynamic in my brain. And I've seen registered dietitians who have gone that way. And I love that, like, you were just very aligned with like it's kind of the holistic version because like what healthy is very undefined because it's a personal journey. So
absolutely.
what I like about what you're saying is like choose whatever you want to choose, just understand what you're choosing.
Exactly. And one of the things that, because all dietitians, we have at least one, and I really think we should have like 8 classes in psychology and counseling. But one of the tools that I learned, and I'm sure you're aware of this one as well, because most people that work one on one with patients or people know about this, is the what we call the readiness to change ruler.
Mm,
And when you're meeting with somebody, especially for the first time, you can kind of get a feeling for where are they in that continuum. And it goes all the way from I don't want to be here
yeah.
to I am so I've already been doing stuff and things are going well, on the other side
Mhm.
of things.
Right.
So um I have definitely surprised a few of my I don't want to be here patients by saying that is an absolutely respectable place to be. And I'm appreciative that you told me that's where you are at. And we can use this time however you want to. I'm not here to make you do anything because that doesn't work.
Right.
So, do you have any questions about nutrition that you've kind of been wondering? But if not, then just know my door's open. And if you
Mhm.
ever decide you have some questions, let me know. And pretty much when you meet them there, all of the patients thus far, knock on fake wood,
Right.
I get some questions out of them because they now understand that it's Yeah, it's not about haha forcing something down their throat.
Right. It's not like a kid you're trying to force to eat their vegetables or they don't get dessert. Like you're not their mother. You're someone who, whether it was they chose to come see you or someone come like
For the
inspired
proper
or encouraged, right? But like what you do, I used to do something very similar. I'll tell you in a second.
yeah,
You're lowering their defense mechanisms because they're coming in with this expectation of she's going to tell me I can't live my life the way I want to live my life, which is
exactly.
around food. And like, you're not mom. That's not the role. Like what I used to do with my personal training clients is my first training session with them. I have these high donut socks that like go up right below my knee, and I would wear them every single time on my first session. And my boss kind of was like, "Doesn't that send the wrong message?" I'm like, "I think it sends the right message. It sends the message I'm human. I enjoy moving my body. I enjoy eating healthy food, and I enjoy donuts. And it's about balance. And by doing that, like it would always disarm my clients in terms, like they'd be so, it's that defensiveness of like, this is my food. I want to eat the way I want to eat. And I totally get that because I boycotted food for years before I really jumped into it. So let's start off with, well, I guess we technically start off, but the hell cares. I'm curious, how would you define what healthy eating is?
Yeah, and then definitely want to hear your definition as well. So I would have to, of course, say that the definition is multifactorial, and I will give my little opinion on what it is, but I'm sure that there are a zillion other definitions that would fit very well into this. But overall, I would say the base of healthy eating is eating in a way that meets your body's nutrient needs
Hmm.
through a variety of foods. And then to get a little more specific, I would say of those foods, ones that emphasize plants, um, plant intake, um, emphasize more minimally processed foods. Not that I'm saying processed foods are evil. I'm absolutely not saying that. But as far as how many we eat and how often we eat them, smaller ingredient list kinds of things, right?
Right.
As close to the origin of the whatever we're eating can be.
Huh.
And then, also looking at kind of sustainability, sustainable protein intake stuff. If you're looking at that nutrient kind of higher in the healthier, healthier fats, the unsaturated fats, and lower on the saturated fat type of thing. So that's kind of my definition food wise.
Yeah.
Meeting your body's nutrient needs through a balance of those nutrients. But
Okay.
I think the definition of a healthy diet would also need to include that integration of whatever is a treat food to you. And I use that word treat because I definitely feel very strongly
Oh yeah.
about the power of wording. So I never, ever call foods, that's a bad food, this is a good food, right? And I'm sure you do the same thing. I
Yeah.
cheated, I'm really good. No, 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 no. This has nothing to do with judgment. It's all about what it does in our bodies. And so I use the example in counseling. All right. If we have the most decadent, incredible birthday cake, maybe twice a year, once on our birthday and once on our best friend's birthday,
Yeah.
is that food going to just derail us and make us incredibly ill? No. If we ate broccoli, which we would call, well, that's a good food. If I ate broccoli breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week, would that really be nourishing my body? No. So, yeah, we can incorporate in a healthy, balanced diet treats as well.
Mhm.
And then, lastly, I guess I would just say, and this is, I'm sure, what you're going to even touch on at some point too. If we change the focus on, instead of what is forbidden, focus on what we want to put more of in,
Mhm.
that has a natural consequence often of naturally creating more of a balance.
Mm.
So yeah, so those are kind of my three-pronged definition, I would say, of healthy eating. And then the only last thing I'd say is I remember early on studying to be a dietitian where the light bulb went off when it was pointed out to me that you can be malnourished and still get a lot of calories in you. It does malnourished doesn't mean the starving person in a third world country.
Mm-hmm.
It means the body does not have the nutrients to work at its optimum.
Right, right. And I mean, obviously we connected at the conference, so clearly I agree with like everything you said. And I will definitely give you my definition. I'm curious though, because you're right, like the just because you consume calories doesn't mean you're nourished. And one of the part of your definition was making sure your nutrient needs are met. So how do you help your clientele understand what that is and how they can tell? Is it like specific foods, or how do you communicate that with them?
Yeah, I mean, I do, again, sometimes details, I think sometimes we have to do this combination of look at big picture, small picture, zoom in, zoom out.
I like that.
So I often at least have to start at the beginning by zooming out.
Mm,
And so what I kind of focus in on at first is what most of us have seen because it's on the walls of almost every school is that poster of the plate method.
yeah.
Portioning, right? If you put half that plate with a plant
Mm-hmm.
and then the other half the plate with some sort of protein, be it a vegan, a vegetarian, or a meat-based protein,
Mm-hmm.
and then a quarter of your plate being your carbohydrates. And then I will school a little bit more on if the patient coming in isn't as aware of more complex carbohydrate versus simple carbohydrate and how our bodies tend to treat those a little differently. So I think that's how I'm
It
trying to
answers
answer.
my question. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect answer because, you know, in my opinion, the most frustrating thing that I experienced and that I hear with my clientele is when they're trying to be healthy, like they're making the effort, but they don't completely understand like what's in the food that's working against them. And like, our food industry has drastically changed since the 60s. So we have to really kind of relearn a lot of different things. Like I'll never forget what my mom used to tell me was healthy. It's not that it wasn't healthy. It was just not all the way there. It was like 10% of it. And now it's funny because she comes to me for healthy. But to answer my own question is what healthy is to me. I
Yeah.
think it's a very personal definition, but how I try to communicate it to my clients is to eat a balanced plate where you have, your good carbs, your good fat, and your good protein, and to feel it in your body. Because I know there are some people who do better with a little bit more protein, and there's some people who do better with a little bit more carbs. And like your body can kind of tell you energetically, like what's going well and what isn't. Obviously, there's like an asterisk for the stress caveat because if we're stressed out, that's a whole different part of the conversation. But what I really liked about what you said is like we align in being like, we're not trying to change your lifestyle. We're trying to work with you to mold your lifestyle to be healthier so you can get the results you want. We're not taking away pizza. We're not taking away donuts. We're
Right.
looking at
Not
balance.
of Brussels sprouts.
Right. Like if you
Just
don't like that vegetable, find a different freaking vegetable.
exactly. Right.
But what I really like, because I used to do this all the time, and it's funny because I just got off a call with a client who used to do this too. We would guilt or judge or resist the unhealthy option, the treat. I call it a balancing meal. You're right. I don't call it good and bad because that's just labeling. And I would get in this mindset of like, if I have this cookie, I have to run 6 miles. That's not what it is. It doesn't even calculate like that in our body. But what I communicate to my clients is you need to figure out how many balancing meals you need to feel motivated to eat healthier. Because the reality is nobody really feels good after eating something
Right.
that's more of a treat meal, right?
Right.
It just doesn't digest as well. Does it taste good going down? You bet your bottom dollar it does.
100%. Yeah.
I will definitely keep having my donuts. But after I have a donut or two, I don't really want to eat unhealthy. Like I crave healthier. And so it's kind of like a balance. So for me, like my balance is every 3 days. If I have a cheat meal or a treat meal every 3 to 4 days, I feel the motivation and the actual desire to eat healthier. And it's really that gradual process of like
Right.
getting healthy, right?
Yep. Yeah. The analogy I like to use, and it's very simplistic, but I think again, sometimes when we take it to the simple, the big picture, it's sometimes easier to grasp and understand. And the analogy I like to use is, so let's imagine that our bodies are a car, and I definitely am going to encourage everybody to take a car that you've put a lot of value to, whether
Oh,
it's
yeah.
classic car, or whether, mine would be, thank you, a Jaguar.
Ooh.
So we've got this very nice car, but very nice cars tend to require that very nice and expensive gasoline.
Yeah.
But in order to not to have the engine start to ping, or to have it develop problems sooner than later, but if we do make the effort to put that gasoline in there, that premium stuff, we're going to run so much more beautifully. I mean, obviously we can't control for the crash, and we can't control for, things that we,
yeah.
Anyway,
It's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy. And I've used the same one because it's weird how it feels like sometimes we put more value on like our possessions. Like we want to make sure we have a good roof over our heads, and that the roof is like, not 30 years old. And we want to make sure that our car is in good shape. But when it comes to our body, there's a lot of twisted information, and like there's so much out on the internet. And like I genuinely like empathize with a lot of people who don't understand or didn't have that kind of food foundation, because I had a 10% of the foundation, but then my profession was the gift that kind of guided me the rest of the way. And once I kind of figured out how to release the deprivation power dynamic that's created, it just feels like I want to be healthy. I choose. Like it's funny because I'm in my hometown right now, and I texted my husband. I'm like, I got a rough decision. Do I want to have my favorite pizza place, or do I want to have like a more energizing meal? And he's like, you're never home. You should have the pizza place. I'm like, I know, but I don't really think I want it. Like I'm craving I can feel my gut craving like a healthier, satisfactory energy. And I'm like, that's what guides me now. Before it was just like calories are calories, but now that it's kind of eating with purpose is how I think of it.
And the neat thing too that I tend to tell myself often, because I describe when I go to places that are new, or like parties, or anything with a whole huge assortment of food. Yeah, I'm a dietitian, but does a little kid in me just get so excited, and I want to eat that,
Yep.
I want to eat way more than would make me feel healthy. One of the things I remind myself is this situation something truly that you're never going to get something again in your next 10 years?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So you're going to go home again.
I know. I'm literally coming back on Friday once I go to Thanksgiving.
Therefore, if you feel like having that treat meal, then you can. And that takes a lot of the pressure off. But if at that whatever gathering I'm going to, somebody's grandmother came and she made this signature pie that I will likely never ever see again, you bet I'm have that.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And so anyway, I think I got us off.
It's that deprivation element. Like, I'll never forget when I first moved into our home that we purchased. It was like I just started my business. I was still in school, like amplifying my coaching. I moved across country, and the pandemic was happening. Stress and I were like best friends, and I found myself indulging in these chocolate macadamia nut turtles from Costco that are delicious. And then 2 weeks roll by, I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh, I felt so gross. And I reflected, and what I realized was I was eating and putting myself in a different stressed out position that my body was more familiar with. And so I was like, okay, well, how do I change the power dynamic? So instead of thinking I shouldn't have my chocolate macadamia nut turtles, I told myself I have to have at least one every single night for a week. And ever since then, I don't really want them all that much because it felt like I had to eat them versus I want, and it's such a power dynamic. But you started to kind of touch on this, and I'm curious from your experience, what are kind of the most common challenges people present, and what solutions do you provide, and what kind of works and what doesn't?
So I, I can jump into that, but I went first last time. Do you want to share your challenges first, and then I'll go second?
Uh, the challenges that I am normally brought with are largely around not understanding how to eat. They have that deprivation mindset, um, and they are very emotional eaters and stress. So like what I noticed is a lot of it's not even about food per se. Like the first one's about food. Like how do I actually build my plate? How do I think about food? But the rest of them, it's like the emotional eating, which is super, super common. That's not technically food. I mean, yeah, we're eating, but it's emotions. And the same thing with stress. It's not food per se, it's more the mind. And that's really why I became a coach, because I realized how much more of this like leads through the mind. So that's like those are the main things that people present to me. And what I normally do with them is I help them figure out what healthy means to them, like at their pace, figuring out their balanced meals. Like I give them kind of a 4-step process of like, here's the foundation. This is how to think about food. This is how you can tell when you're hungry and when you're full, like physical signals, not like mental, emotional eating signals. And then we develop menus and things to deal with the other, emotions and stress and kind of the mindset element. But it's really about just kicking the power dynamic and helping them reconnect to how good it feels to be healthy.
Right. Because so many things in life that feel off balance, there's that element of power, whether it's another person, whether it's a situation, whether it's a food. It tends to be that, yeah, that
Right.
imbalance of power. So I think I went I went a little more specific in my thoughts about challenges, and I kind of geared them around food in a sense. And so one of them I'd say, I think that it's a huge challenge with portion sizes. The portion sizes that are presented to us now versus like when McDonald's out, right? We've most of us have seen those pictures of this was a Happy Meal, right? And it's got this hamburger single patty,
Yeah.
got a small fry and small soda, right? Well, of course, now that's not even a kid's meal, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really hard when it's the norm to have just massive quantities in front of you and figuring out how to deal with it. I even struggle with that at times and have
Yeah.
to really, really use my tools. And I'm a dietitian, so it's hard for me. It's got to be hard for the general public. So I think portion size is a challenging one. Along the same lines, just the availability
Oh yeah.
of foods are not as healthy for us. When we walk through the checkout stand, and maybe we've done a great job shopping and we've implemented all of our healthy shopping tools, and then you're like, okay, fine, and then you get to the checkout, and there's all those. You're standing there, and you're like, okay, just all right. I have such healthy food for next week. I'm just gonna get this candy bar. I'm just the availability right then and there, dangle, dangle, and how and how quick and easy it is, right? So a lot of my counseling has to go with talking about how well in this time. Well, let me back up. My third challenge, I think, is our pace of life, our fast, fast,
Oh,
fast pace of life.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So that lends itself to those first other issues, right? Where we have 10 minutes for lunch on a work day. And if we didn't happen to bring our lunches in, now we're going to the very available place on the corner or in the strip mall next to us. And then we're now relating back to my first point, we're getting the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It all intertwines together. So a lot of what I do is talk about how, kind of changing.
The
There are
pace.
healthy foods that can be, well, changing the pace, but also healthy foods can be fast foods like bagged salads and the protein.
Yeah.
you know, I'll be less time than getting in my car and going and getting that and coming back.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about that. So I would say, yeah. And then the last I'd add a fourth, a lot of what you said to your point earlier of I don't I don't really know what's healthy, and you kind of teach them that
Right.
it's while the internet does put a lot of confusing information out there, at the same time it can be harnessed to really help
Yeah.
educate people as well, as long as you're really kind of careful with the search terminology. So the other day, for example, and this is more along your line, because I had a patient, all dietitians tend to talk about exercise, all exercise professionals tend to talk about nutrition, right? So here's where our compatibility lies. So I know some basics about, exercise and how mandatory it is in our health. And I had a patient that had fibromyalgia, and that just is such a hard one to get a regular exercise routine going because your body is aching and tired. And again, not being a fitness professional, I was like, okay, well, how can I make a realistic suggestion for her instead of just saying, well, you still need to exercise.
Right.
And I was like, hold on, I've never done this search before. Let me do it right now. And we did it in a session where I'm like, exercises for people with fibromyalgia.
Huh?
There were like 5 videos on there. I was like, dude, who would have known? I don't know. So see if those might be helpful, right?
Yep.
So I often, like, if you don't know how to cook, Google how to make a healthy grilled salmon and then hit the video button.
Yeah.
And pause it and watch how to do every single step of the way.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I really do like that because, when I think of the internet, honestly, I don't think I would know how to cook if it wasn't for the internet. Like when I was such an athlete growing up, and I remember my mom saying, like, how are you ever going to learn how to cook if you don't sit and watch me? And then the internet came out and there goes all my problems. So like I really was like self-taught in a lot of ways, trial and error, definitely a lot of error in order to get to the wins, but that's okay. And I think like the interesting thing is what people Google and like the specific search for it. And I feel like one of the greatest challenges in getting healthy is patience.
That's yes. I have a mantra that we'll talk about maybe at some point, and it's a word equivalent to that. Yep.
Because like we want to jump the mountain. Like we want to get to the healthy so we can feel the things we want to feel. And don't get me wrong, if it worked like that, sign me the hell up. Like I am right there in line, ready to jump the fucking mountain. But it just doesn't work like that. And what I try to help.
The anecdotal evidence that we see on the internet of people that jump the mountain and it worked beautifully, either they're not true,
right?
Or that's 1 in 6 million.
Right. And it's like, I find so many people are just like resisting who they are because they can't be the like 0.01% of the population that maybe can get to that. But ultimately, like we are who we are, we're not going to change that. So why do we resist it? I don't really get it, but I don't like the patience of it either. I don't like how long it takes either, but I value it and I respect it because it's not like, I forget there's a quote and I love quotes. It was something like, health is different than money. Money, you can win the lottery and you're rich. You can't do one workout or eat one healthy meal and be healthy the rest of your life. Like it is a consistent commitment to you. Really. It's like choosing to energize yourself, to put your best foot forward, and to find a balanced lifestyle that embodies health and fun the way you want to live your life, not just the complete fear of feeling any emotions. I'm just going to consume to try and stuff all that down to feel something familiar. But it's, I find that I tell a lot of my clients when they first start with me, like, you're not going to notice results for probably 3 months and others probably won't say anything for 6 months. So let's get our head wrapped around that timeline. And that's like the earliest, just so we're all on the same.
Really agree, because you're setting them up for success that way. Because yes, if many people come in not knowing from the get-go what's the realistic timeline here, and
And we're
Yeah.
so
And if,
transactional, and we have that urgent society. Like, I can hit a button and something can be here in an hour. I can hit a button and then something will come to me in 2 days. So it's like, what do you
yeah,
mean I have to wait a month for this to work? Like, our body is so dynamic and just intricate. And I love it because it's so fascinating to me. But when it comes to like weight loss and getting healthy, our cognitive brain wants to jump the mountain, but like the rest of us, like, that's super scary. There's something that's threat response in our body. But I always say I would rather be respected than liked. And I feel if I don't set them with that kind of expectation of 3 to 6 months, they throw the towel in and just go back to old habits, not because they can't lose the weight or because they can't get healthy, but because they don't have the patience to let the process work for them. And
right.
honestly, the people who work with me, I really try to work on like the healthy lifestyle. I used to do like, let's do habits. And like, I was able to get people to lose 20, 30, 100 pounds, but a lot of them gained it back because it wasn't the lifestyle. And I was like, I don't want you to work and struggle for the willpower of that. Let's go slower, but get there so it lasts. And what's funny is I was just on a call with,
Way behind you on that. People that tend to lose it through lifestyle changes that lose it slower tend to keep it off longer and more
right,
efficiently.
right. I think I read it was like 98% of people gain the weight back within 6 months when they do a diet. But when it's a
Yep.
lifestyle, 98% don't gain it back. And after
Or
15 years, I think the study was.
yeah.
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 And I get it's not for everybody. Like, we still live in an urgent culture, but what I really try to get my clients to understand is like, you want to be healthier each step of the healthy like ladder you get on, because it genuinely feels better. Like, I had a client right before you. She used to really stress out about working out because she didn't trust that she wouldn't stay consistent. I'm like, it's because you're thinking of it as a chore. Just go dance. You're not allowed to go to the gym for an entire month. You have to dance or do yoga at your house for the
Yeah.
month. And after that, she now just like loves, like, she signed up for different classes. She enjoyed it. And what do you know? She just started cooking and she just got really healthy. And that grocery store thing with all the candy right on the side, she's like, you know what I realized? I didn't have the courtroom battle in my head today when I went to the candy store. And she goes, and I was on my period. So that's saying something. And I'm like, that is truly saying something. But
Yeah.
like the health evolvement.
Yeah.
So there is one thing I'm genuinely really curious, because my journey was like, I want to have a healthy, fit body. I want to understand food. And then I kind of
Mhm.
stumbled upon the mindset element of it. And I'm curious, what role or how does confidence play into being healthy, in your opinion?
Yeah. That was that question I think fascinates me because honestly I don't think that I'd ever really contemplated that question in that way before. Um so so the more I thought about it though, definitely started making linkages in my head about how I feel confidence plays. And I think just like you and I were just talking about how getting healthy in so many aspects is a patience game and it's a trial and error and it's a continued. In fact, I'll now give you the word that I tend to use with my clients, which is the equivalent, I think, of your patience. And I tell them it's about resilience. It is
Mm,
never about perfection.
I like that.
Because I remember the first time that, because I counsel a variety of patients, but a couple days a week, I actually counsel people that are going to go through bariatric surgery. And I have some people that come in and they are, I mean, most people that pursue this are very serious about needing to make, really trying to make decisions for themselves to improve their health. Anyway, sometimes they are so motivated that they'll say, I just want to get this right. I just want to get this perfect.
Right.
And the first time I said to somebody and leaned in her and said, well, you stop that right now because I'm going to guarantee you, you are going to, you're going to get off track.
Mhm.
And she's like, what?
Right.
Don't tell
Right.
me this is my corner. And I'm like, now listen. So I said, it's never about perfection because we are human beings. You will, and I don't know if you're going to hit that at 3 weeks or if you're going to hit that in 6 years. I don't
Mhm.
know. And then it's all about as long as you're that canine with your teeth dug in, and you will not let go of your goal, no matter if you're off track 2 days or 2 months or 2 years. If
Mm-hmm. Of
you get back, the sooner the better.
course.
That's the most important thing, is the resilience. I'm not gonna let this go. I'm a failure. So anyway, that ties around to this confidence thing of we've got to believe that we have the tools.
Right. Yeah.
And so you don't snap your fingers and all of a sudden have confidence that you know how to be a healthy person. You build up, you practice them, and you learn how to use them well. And then it's kind of that phrase, that's often used in sports, if you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways that's not a negative thing. So and it's based in psychology, and I know there's an official name for this, and I don't remember what it was, but it's with the visualizing, because we do know, if you visualize, and I'm sure that you do things like probably storyboarding and all that sort of quote writing down, etc. Because if we start to talk that way, then our brain over time starts to get these little tendrils of, oh, I think I might believe it, right? And then I think the other part of that is you definitely need to set yourself up for success, though. It's all about step by step by step, and you celebrate the heck out of those milestones. So, and I'd be curious to hear, like, what kind of advice do you give your patients, your or not your patient, your client there? So yeah, back to you, kind of.
Well, I love how you tied resilience into it, because I think that is such a key element of health that isn't really talked about because of the, speed of our culture and the lack of patience most of us have. But the whole confidence thing was something I kind of stumbled into. And it was really, I was talking to my clients, and I wanted to understand how to make it so they can lose weight and have fun, enjoy the life, and like get the confidence. Because a lot of people come to me wanting to lose weight so they can feel confident. And really, it's the confidence within yourself that creates that. Like, I believe I have the ability to endure the duration, 6 months, a year, 2 years, it'll take me to get to the results I want. I believe I have the resilience to make mistakes and get back up. And that means I believe in myself, which is ultimately like the core definition of confidence when you think about it. And it was something I noticed, especially in myself. And then I started to notice it in my other clients, when I started to just trust and wholeheartedly believe that, like, I don't have to be healthy, or I don't need to be healthy. I want to be healthy. That's when it was
right.
Because
it's more powerful that way.
Yes, 100%. And it was very correlated to when I started to really believe in myself. And so I started paying attention to it, and I like dangled like a carrot with a couple of my training clients. And I had one client who I haven't been able to get her to work out without me. So she would see me 3 times a week, and she would never work out without me. So if I went on vacation, she's not working out. So she wanted to. She talked about it consistently for probably 6-7 years. And then I told her my interpretation of some podcasts that I listened to that was about confidence and mindset. And then the next week when I saw her, turns out she went to the gym over the weekend. I'm like, okay, I was like the deer, like, don't talk about it or it might not happen again. Like, I was like weirdly suspicious. And then the following weekend, she told me the same thing, and so on and so on. And after a month, I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, we've been working on this for 6 and 7 months, or 6 and 7 years. Like, what changed? And she said, it was your interpretation of that podcast that you listened to, and how I needed to choose the mindset of confidence to breed the health I want, instead of trying to like earn it over and over again, where it felt so disempowering, where this feels empowering.
It's something bestowed on me when I have hit the gold star level, and until then I can't have it, right? Until I lose it, I can't be confident. Until I can fit into the size 12, I can't be confident.
Right. It's like we set these like bars.
Right.
It's
right,
like,
which is
it's a limbo bar. It's a moving, like the thing with not enough, like I can't tell you how many clients would be like, I just need to lose 20 pounds and I'll be happy and confident. I'm like, cool, let's go. And we lose 20 pounds. And what were they not? They were not happy and they were not confident. I'm like, inside stuff generates inside stuff. Like if you had physical back pain, you would probably go to a physical therapist over a social worker, right?
there you
Makes
go.
sense. Outside pain, outside solution. If we want to feel happy, if we want to feel confident, that stuff is generated inside. If we're feeling depressed, we don't go to the physical therapist, we go to the social worker inside.
Right.
And I feel like that's the message that gets very lost. But the other point you were talking about is kind of like in learning to enjoy the journey. And so I'm very blessed to that my kind of career has taken me how it has, because I've always been fascinated by the brain, but it really gave me the opportunity to like grab on and truly understand how to get our brain to work with us and how to get our hormones to work with us. Like I never understood how impactful stress was and weight loss until I became a coach, and I was like, fuck, because I was stuck in like the stress urgency of our culture, and I had to like release that and like lean into calm and productive versus busy and stressed, which is very fun when I ask my clients about that. But it's enjoying the journey versus trying to only get to the destination. And what I try to get my clients to understand is like, okay, you didn't have the, grocery courtroom battle in your head. Do I get the Reese's or do I not? Here's why I should, here's why I shouldn't. You just understood, like, if I want it, I can come back and get it, but right now I'm good. Like, that is something to celebrate, because that shows that your mind is changing and you will continue to make healthier choices each step of the way because you see that in your neurochemistry. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the other thing you were talking about, God, I felt so like hippy dippy woo woo when I got into this, but we were talking about like visualization and ultimately manifesting. And I remember I took a sports psychology class in college, and they were talking about this, and I was like, no. And then I got into physics, and and they like connected the sports psychology and the physics. So I'm like, I don't like that makes sense to me, but I've really used it as a tool, and I don't push it on people. Like if they don't want to do that, like I get it. I avoided it for years too. So it's weird to me, but it's crazy how impactful it is when you can like, if you live it in your head, you create the memory, even if it's not real. And then it makes it easier for you to take the specific action. So with the holidays, a lot of what I tell my clients to do is like, okay, what are you most nervous about? And more often than not, it's like the dessert tray or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want to do when you see the dessert tray? And they'll tell me whatever it's going to be. And I'm like, okay, so close your eyes, and I'll talk them through the first one to at least get one rep in. I'm like, then try to do this like 1 to 5 times a day. That gives you 25 reps of you walking away from the tray, or you only taking the one thing you want versus like 17 things. And then it really drastically increases your chances of improving. But I think it's all like, it all boils back to like what you believe you can do. If you don't believe you can lose weight, when you start to, your brain's going to be like, no, this isn't safe. And it's going to make you subconsciously eat. Like, you remember my story about my macadamia nut turtles? I ate them because I was overstressed in something unfamiliar, and I needed a different stress, body shame, that was more familiar. And that's how tricky our brain and our body is. That's why it's not as easy as calories in, calories out, or move your body and don't. Like, it's just more complex.
Right. Right. I would say orders of magnitude in those in exercise and calories matter. Like I can't maintain my health at 4,000 calories a day, but down to counting and obsessing, no way. Yeah. For most of us. And yes, there are of course exceptions that need to happen, but same thing with the exercise. Yeah, it does matter if I'm not exercising for 6 years in a row, but does it, you know, if I'm doing starting off 4 days and then eventually can get it, all of the health things that come from there. Yeah, I should be doing it probably 5 to 6 days, but
that's
orders
you.
of magnitude. Right. And that's a good too. Yes.
And it's different for every person. Like, I'm very similar. Like, I was traveling a lot and I didn't get to work out for 2 days, and I hated it because I felt how hard that next workout was. And it's not how I enjoy, like, I enjoy moving my body. Even if it's
Mhm.
dancing or skipping, like my husband and I walk our dogs, we'll literally go do cartwheels in the street. Why? Because we fucking can.
Yeah. Right.
That's not
Yep.
it. Am I doing a cartwheel to try and lose weight? No, I'm not.
Nope.
I'd be like
Right.
thousands of cartwheels. I'd probably get dizzy. So that's not really the point of it, but it's like, it's the energy of life. Like I want to have fun. I want to live. I want to feel good. And like, I think that's where this whole thing comes back to. Like we look at being healthy so our bodies can look a certain way and be accepted.
Right.
Fuck that. I'm sorry, but I
Yeah.
hate that narrative.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
makes you feel good? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think when we had talked before, one of the things we had talked about is, kind of what's your favorite part of being healthy, which
Yeah.
you kind of touched on. That I
Yeah.
can do cartwheels when when I feel the urge to be doing
Playful. Right.
topsy turvy great.
Yeah.
And well, that's exactly why I pursue health as well, because it's not always the easy thing to do all the time, but I want my body to have the ability to do things that are my priorities.
Of course.
So you're right. We have to individualize it to everybody.
Mhm.
So for me, I want to be able to fly overseas and literally walk 12 miles in a day, seeing everything.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me day in and day out. So yes, you got to find what's your version of that.
Mhm.
And trying to get your body there. And it
Yes.
means different things for different.
And I really like the individualized approach of like, however many balancing meals you need, however much movement you need. Like, we're not naive to understand like there are certain recommendations for reasons, like moving your body more, there's a calorie, deficit, and that helps us. Like, there's the obvious logistical things, but it's a journey. Let's just get what feels good right now. And once it starts to feel good, it gets easier to do that next step versus going from I'm
Yeah.
not doing anything to 5 days of perfection. No one can do that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yep.
we have about 9 more minutes. So before we close out, I'm curious, what are like the top 3 to 5 tips you would give people in order to be healthy?
All right. Well, I'm going to try to stay somewhat quick because I want to hear your 3 to 5 tips. Well, we were talking about how achieving little bits over time amounts to the ability to reach goals in a much better way than just overdoing it, all overindulging, overdoing it, and then feeling like failures when we don't get there. So I would encourage people, if they're not already familiar with the setting of SMART goals, and I'm heard of those or implemented those, but you look up the acronym online, SMART, look it up, and how to set SMART goals and start to play with that. Because that gives you some excellent tools and it's very specific step by step. If I do this at this time and in this manner, it's a great guide. So I would say using SMART tools. I think the one thing I tell patients when I'm meeting with them, that in my experience as a dietitian, and there are thousands and thousands of dietitians out there, so I'm not the only guru on this, but I think a huge percentage of success however we define it for ourselves, you have to be able to plan. You have to think. Planning is key. And I point out now with food, planning doesn't necessarily mean prepping, because honestly, I'm not the gal. I wish I was, but I'm not. That's spending 3 hours on a weekend making all of my lunches ahead of time and prepping my breakfast to just pop in the microwave and go. I do that maybe twice a year, and I feel so proud of myself, and it does make the week go beautiful. But in reality, no, I've got a lot of other things competing for my time and attention and other priorities that are good priorities. So, but the planning thing, that's important. That's most important, because what I want to do is I want to set myself up for success. And what happens when I run out the door, I haven't thought about breakfast. So now I'm missing breakfast. I'm stressed at work. I'm doing something. Now I'm really hungry all of a sudden. I didn't think ahead to put into my office some healthy snacks that I like.
Yeah.
So I'm going to walk to the break room and I'm going to go for whatever is there because my body's hungry and it's demanding food. And at that point, when your body's demanding food, all bets are off for the most part.
Yeah.
I'll eat. I need calories right then and there. So then I come to lunch. I didn't plan lunch prep, either plan where I'm going and what I'm getting at the healthy place or bring it in so that I'm not relying on grabbing the fast food. Because maybe you do go and make the healthy salad choice most of the time, but the more you are exposed to the unhealthy things, then you start to say, oh, well, just this time I'm going to get the grilled chicken nuggets and and then that tends to, if you weren't going and you'd brought your yummy, healthy lunch, you wouldn't be exposed to doing that choice more often. So I really feel very strongly about trying to get the meal planning. So even the night before, what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to have for lunch? And shop for the week for dinner with a rough things outline, and there's a lot online that you can access. How do I do this? And meal planning, and it can kind of try this for a little bit. Start small. Start by planning your breakfasts. Do that for 2 weeks, right? And then, so you get the point. So I think planning is really important. And then, well, you definitely talked about this. I don't want people only relying on the scale, and that's big when they come to meet a dietitian because they think that's the first thing we're going to lead with. How much do you weigh this week? And I'm not going to say weight doesn't matter because we have statistical correlations with higher percentage of certain illnesses when carrying a lot of extra weight in certain areas, et cetera. It does, but that's not the only thing that we want to see. Like, in fact, I tell people, I'm like, I don't care if you lose a pound on that scale, but if you took your waist measurement and you are a quarter of an inch smaller, I'm gonna try to do a cartwheel, which is not a pretty thing. I'm so excited for you because that also means that it probably you got a little less around your pancreas and your heart and your liver, and so so that matters, and other things like when you get your next blood work, if you've been working out more and you've been eating healthier, not perfectly healthier, you're probably going to see that success. So and then the key one, when you start to feel better.
Bingo.
Right?
Yeah. I love that.
And we don't give that as much celebration as we give the 5 pounds off on the scale. And I think that off. Are you feeling better? Much more motivating. And then to your point, my other tip is don't fall into the, if I'm going to be an exerciser, this is what I'm supposed to do. And for me, I always talk about it going to a gym. I have nothing against gyms. I think gyms are fantastic. I have just come to the peace in and of myself at this point in my life. It's not for me. The time it takes to get in the car and go and come back, I feel so agitated. I'm like, that was a waste of time to get in my car and come back. Yeah. So now the exercise is the important part, right? So maybe I do turn on the dance video. Maybe I do go down and get on my exercise bike in the basement. I do my 1 pound weights for 10 minutes, and it's amazing how that hurt for a while.
Burn.
Yeah. You find for you what works. It's not, you have to do this, you have to do this.
I feel like the underlying message between what we're saying is it's not a one size pick all. Like, health is so individualized, and I feel like culture has spewed this idea around like body image, but ultimately if your pants do fit better, if you do look better in a picture, and that means there's less fat around your liver, whether that means you fit the stereotype of what culture says the body image should be. So I am always fascinated by this because I used to be like, do these things, and now I'm like, the journey, the like lifestyle journey is so much more valuable. And I like the planning thing. Like, it's funny. I never used to prep. And then I did one time, and now I've been prepping for like 6 years, and I will not stop, but it doesn't work for everybody. Like, I have plenty of clients who it doesn't work for. Same thing with the gym. Dance, cartwheel, hike, whatever, like move your body in a way that is pleasurable, because your brain likes pleasure and will continue. That literally releases dopamine, our addictive,
Yes.
hormone. So like, we can create so much more joy and positivity in our life. But my tips are, find your balance with your movement, like what generates your pleasure, and your balance with your food. How many balancing meals do you need? What does eating healthy look like for you? And your results will likely influence that. And if you're not happy with your results, you know exactly how to tweak it. To be patient and curious instead of judgmental and shameful. I feel like that allows us to learn on the journey and releases some of the stress.
Yeah.
Small actions forward and celebrate your progress. And
Yeah.
give yourself permission to do it your way is kind of the last one that I always go to, because maybe it does look like doing some cartwheels and playing around with gymnastics because you can. Maybe you go to, a playground and do the monkey bars because you feel like it. But
Right.
when we say exercise, it's a chore. Move, play.
Right.
That, like, let's get back to like what's so true in us, which is that playful energy. So, well,
Yeah.
I have loved to, I mean, I always love talking to you, but I love being able to give this to my clients. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want more information or they want to talk more to you?
Well, one, thank you so much for the invitation. Because obviously, yes, this was a lovely extension off of sitting next to each other and whispering between speakers. What do you feel about this? What do you think about this? um, so I do work for a private company that I can really only see the people associated with my group. But that you bring up a good question, because I did want people to, if they want to see a registered dietitian, how do they go about doing that? So couple places I would look. One is you can ask your PCP, like, do they recommend somebody? A lot of my patients come to me through the recommendations of their primary care, or sometimes an endocrinologist. So asking them, sometimes insurance companies can also recommend in the area. They have lists and things of people that are covered. And then you can also go to kind of the parent umbrella organization for nutrition and dietetics. It's called eatright.org. So it's literally eatright.org. And then if you just find a nutrition expert, and then you'll just put in your zip code or your city and state, then you will get people that are registered dietitians that have opted to list in that area. So those are a couple of different ways.
Thank you. I know, I mean, obviously I want a lot of everyone to work with you, but your company is private, and I hope that people can walk away understanding, like, not all registered dietitians are going to say, eat this, don't eat that. They're not going to tell you what you have to do. They're going to work with you. And ultimately, being healthy is very much on your scale and how you interpret it, and like what your goals are, and your registered dietitian or coach is going to work with you to get to that place.
A very good point. I always tell people, I'm like, whatever the professional, the mental health or professional you're working with, it is often about fit. So maybe give it a couple sessions, but if you feel like that isn't the right, I'm not the right fit for everybody either. If people do want more better, and I'm going to tell you what to do, and here's your eating list, I'm not the dietitian for them. I'm not going to work well with them. So yeah, so it's okay to have to kind of, this was great, but this isn't working for me. Let me look around some more.
Absolutely. So. And I'm really happy you kind of commented on that, because I know I'm definitely not for everybody, and that's okay. But it's, at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to, it's your choice. But Beth, I am so happy you were here. It was such a privilege. I can't wait for our next chat, and I hope you continue to sparkle.
Likewise, I'm sure you will. All right. Enjoy some tradition, whatever it is for you.
You too. See you, Beth.
Bye. Take care.